I want to play this from the podcast P with Paul George. This is Draymond Green talking about his arc of his career as a leader and how he was kind of thrust into being a veteran leader a few years ago.
In 2019, obviously we lost in the finals, and then KD left, and Clay got hurt, and then Steph got hurt 2 games. Sean got traded away. Sean retired. Andre got traded away. All our vets left. So all of a sudden, I went from like the young guy on the team to like year 8 of thrown into the fire of like being this mentor. And like I've always been a mentor. That's it is. But being a vet is a totally different thing than being a mentor.
Right.
And so then I just start trying to learn how to be a vet on the fly. And to have someone there that I can continue to watch and learn from, I'm actually looking forward to, because I know that that's something that I need to continue to, an area
I want to see it. I can't wait. Very interesting.
Learning from Chris Paul, a guy who he has been on record as saying that he doesn't like, and now he's looking forward to learning from Chris Paul about how to mentor young people.
Yeah, and look, that's what it is in this league. You're young, and then all of a sudden, you're old. There's no in between, right? And Draymond got thrust into it like he talked about, but a lot of these guys get thrust into it. And I think that the older, I am really interested to see how this all plays out on all sides, whether it's Wiseman or whether it's Jordan Poole or whether it's Draymond, because we know how time can change things and how you start to remember things a little bit differently. And I think that having somebody like Chris Paul, who has always really been that leader, even though he's had some questionable things on the court that we might not all love, it's kind of undeniable that guy has that leadership quality. So I think it's big on Draymond, because who knows how long Chris Paul is even going to be with the Warriors. So I think it's good on Draymond to, say, hey, I got 4 more years left. I don't know what's happening next. He'll be 36 when the deal is done. Man. So I want to get better. And he's realizing some areas where he needs to get better. Now, if he takes some of that to his jump shot and some of his offensive capabilities as well, now we're really cooking with some hot grease, Dibs.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to ever get to be the offensive player that he was earlier in his career. I think if he can just look to score and look to knock down the open shot, that's all you're looking for from Draymond Green.
Yes.
And, I think that last year in the postseason in particular, he showed a little bit more of a willingness to look to score than he had in previous years. So I think Draymond Green still has a little of that left in him. I want to play another cut from Podcast P with Paul George. Draymond talking about how he failed as a leader, and particularly referencing Jonathan Kuminga.
It's something that I've actually tried to be more aware of, and what I've tried to understand. AV, who's one of our assistant coaches, helped me understand last year is like I felt like I was struggling with Kuminga a bit, more so struggling like what am I doing wrong? Not necessarily what he's doing wrong, but what am I doing wrong? And AV, who has a great relationship with him, told me, he said, "Do you know him?"
That's a deep question.
And I was like, huh.
And do you know him?
Like, that's interesting. Because now that you say that, I start thinking about what it means to know someone. I don't know him, yet I'm trying to lead him. And that's something that Coach Izzo taught me as a freshman. Draymond, how can you lead somebody if you don't know them? You don't spend any time with them off the court. You don't know what makes them tick or this. How you going to lead them? And I was like, I got to get to know this kid.
Yeah.
I got to get to know him, Allen. And it's an interesting point, because how can you lead somebody if you don't know them, especially in a situation like Jonathan Kuminga, where he's only been in the U.S. for a small handful of years.
Yeah.
He played a year in the G League Ignite. He played just a couple of years in the Warriors, and he didn't really have his footing in terms of American culture, let alone the NBA culture. And if Draymond's trying to lead him, quote unquote, the way he leads everyone else, maybe it doesn't resonate.
No, I agree. And I do think it takes more than simply, hey, we both play basketball, we have these things in common. Because besides that, if you think about it, they don't really have anything in common. Right? Number one, and probably the biggest one, Jonathan Kuminga is 20. Draymond's 33, right? And that's actually a little bit perfect, because my nephew is 22 and I'm 33. And we get along and we have a bunch in common because we're family. But sometimes he'll be talking and I'm just thinking, dude, what the heck are you talking about? I have no clue what you're talking about. You know what I mean? So you really have to work because there is a bit of a generation gap. That's how long you've been in this game, Draymond. You've been playing it at a high level. So you have to work through these things and you have to understand, okay, these are how, this is how this kid handles this. This is how this kid handles that. So again, Draymond understanding that. And it's interesting that Kuminga is the guy that comes up here because Moody, even though he's very young too, is basically just a vet.
Right.
The way he behaves, the way he carries himself. But when it comes to Kuminga, obviously, the whole thing about did he release that article and then he tweeted and said he didn't know what was going on. That whole thing, which I don't even know if we got any resolution on that. But clearly the vibes were just a mess this year. So Draymond understands that moving forward, whatever went awry with Jordan Poole, if you want to put some blame on Jordan Poole having too much dip on his chip, that's completely okay. But you can't have that happen again with another top talent that not only is going to help this team when you're done, hopefully, right, but also could help the team while you're on it right now. So I think life is about growth, and it sounds like Draymond is growing in a couple different areas as a pro.
That's a good point. And I'm going to play one more from Podcast P. This is Draymond Green adding on just how he failed Kuminga.
Now I understand, okay, I need to continue to do that. Like, you can't get so lost in life.
Right.
To where you stop doing those things that I know create success, especially in leading, mentoring, and, being that vet for someone. Those are the things you have to do. So it really opened my eyes, and I've been trying to do a much better job with that, checking in on him, hoping to get, together with him this summer. But I can say, like, that caused some of our issues, trying to lead guys and not knowing them.
Mm-hmm.
I lost some of that and had to get it back.
Yeah, and, he has a chance to get it back, Allen, because virtually nobody's left among the young players other than Kuminga and Moody. And you mentioned Moody. It feels more like Moses is an old soul. Just the 1 year at Arkansas and now the 2 years with Golden State, it feels like he is more, I guess, aware. It's no disrespect to Jonathan Kuminga, but he moved here when he was 14 years old from the Congo to play high school basketball. So he's only been in the United States for 6 years. And think about that in terms of Draymond Green. That was 2016. So when Kuminga moves to the States, Draymond's already 6 years into his career. Yeah. He's already won a title and blown a title before Kuminga even has a chance to get his passport stamped.
Yeah, so that's a good point. I will say one thing on Kuminga, though, just because, or one thing on Moody, even though we talk about how he's so advanced, he's so mature. I don't want them to forget about him because he's not I don't want to say issue, but because he's not as much of a project. Moody's always fine. I hope that they continue to mentor Moody, and I think they will. I think that they just know there's more work to be done with Kuminga. That's why they're going to focus on Kuminga. So I hope that works out, as well. And I'm seeing on the YouTube chat people talk about, why does Draymond have to babysit? The thing is, this is when you talk as much as Draymond, it's kind of what you sign up for, right? Draymond essentially volunteered for this. If you are going to be that heartbeat, that drum, that I'm the guy, I'm the vocal leader, you kind of sign up for it, even if you don't think you do. Now, it's not solely on Draymond. Draymond has a piece of this. Steph has a piece of this. I don't know if I would say Clay, but to some degree Clay, and obviously Steve Kerr, the rest of the coaching staff and the front office, they all do. So I'm just I'm not saying this is on Draymond. I'm just saying, again, going back to business, shout out to the tech world out there, all you techies out there, to the pie chart. Draymond is just owning his part of the pie chart and getting Kuminga where he needs to be.
And talk is cheap, and that was from the 408 on the Comcast business text line. And you're right, 408, talk is cheap, and now Draymond has to go out there and back it up because last year, talk was also cheap, but he wasn't able to talk until February, according to Draymond. He lost his voice because of what happened with he and Jordan Poole, and the year went sideways, and by the time he tried to get his voice back, they had already dug themselves a hole, and he couldn't really reach the guys he wanted to reach. And, well, Wiseman's gone, and Poole's gone, and PBJ is gone, and Ryan Rollins is gone, and so now you get Podziemski, AirPods, and you get Jackson Davis rather in there, and he becomes a new young player, and they're all starting fresh. So Draymond Green can start over in his leadership role. 888-957-9570. Skills is in Vallejo. What's going on, Skills?
Hey, what's up, Dibs? What's up, Styles? Good to be on with you guys. Styles, good to hear you. I haven't heard you on here in a minute, so good to hear you guys on the air. And I just wanted to, I called in originally to talk about Chris Paul and Jordan Poole, but then you guys started talking about Draymond's leadership. I just want to make a quick comment there. And it's good that he wants to be a leader to Kuminga. But I always think about, first of all, do you guys remember, either one of you remember the ESPN show Playmakers from the early 2000s?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay, well, one of the themes of that show, you had the veteran running back who was played by Russell Hornsby, and you had the young running back played by Omar Gooding. And Hornsby's character was trying to lead Gooding's character, but Gooding's character was, an egomaniac and a jerk, and really wanted no part of any of what Hornsby had to say. I'm not comparing Kuminga to that guy specifically, but I'm just saying a young guy has to want to be led. If you're going to lead him, if you want to try to lead him, that's great. But if his mind is somewhere else, if he's not fully invested in what he's trying to do, then that's only going to get you so far.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Skills. I appreciate that. And that's just the nature of a new season and new young players. And you're gonna have to find a way as the veteran core to get everybody to get on the same page. Strength in numbers is not just a slogan. It's going to have to be more than ever a way of life for this Golden State Warriors team if you want to really advance far in the playoffs.
Yeah, and the bottom line is once you decide to not decide, but right, Draymond said he's talking about Tom Izzo, and we interviewed Tom Izzo, not too long ago, a couple months ago, something like that. I can't remember time anymore, but it was during the playoffs, and when Tom Izzo came, and then they won the game. What was it? Game 5. They won Game 5, and they said, "All right, if we can pull off Game 6," they did not. Spoiler alert: they did not pull that off, but. For Tom Izzo to say that, or for Draymond to say that Tom Izzo was telling him these things about leadership as a freshman, Draymond, as we say, Dibs, is not new to this. He's true to this. So he feels like this is a part of who he is as a player. It's part of it, right? The things that he does on the court and off the court. That is part, when you're building a 2K character, leadership would be one of Draymond's skill sets, or one of his skills. And the thing is, you can't turn it on and off, unfortunately, or fortunately. You can't just say, hey, well, I'm a leader to these guys, and we've all grown up together, and I'm going to lead these guys that, these vets that have come in, they're about 27, 28, but that 19-year-old, no, get that guy away from me.
Right.
Yeah, that's not how it works. You can't turn it on and off. It's not when you decide to be a leader of a team, it's not a buffet. You can't take some of this, you want a little bit of the chicken, but you don't want any steak. You don't want any mashed potatoes. You're watching your carbs. You got to take everything. And Draymond, from the minute he stepped on that Michigan State campus, he knew he was destined to be a leader, probably before, from when he was even in high school.
Yeah.
So he knows that he can't decide, I want to mentor that guy, but not that guy. That's just not how it works. Not if you want to win and be a champion.
And that's where last year got to be so fascinating from an outsider standpoint, because Draymond Green, for the most part, had been able to lead everybody outside of Kevin Durant. And we know famously why that broke apart. And it was in part because of Draymond and his very abrasive personality, for lack of a better way to describe it. And Kevin Durant, overly sensitive. And ultimately that relationship broke apart because of that. But Draymond Green, you had never heard or really seen anything in relation to the younger players. You'd never seen players come out and say, Draymond's a bully, Draymond's this, Draymond's a bad teammate. Until the thing happened with Jordan Poole, you hadn't really seen that thing fracture in the way it fractured. Now, Draymond's always been ride or die with his team. He got into it with Steve Kerr, we know, but they were able to make amends and go on and continue to win championships after that. He gets after the officials, but we had never seen him lose that mentorship role until now. And so here he sits, and I played the sound from the Podcast P podcast with Paul George, and now he realizes what he has to do going forward. He signs a 4-year deal, 3 years with a player option for the 4th year, and now it's up to him to make this thing right in every possible way going forward.
Yeah, and it's always so funny. And like I said, I'm good. It's good to be back on the airwaves with you, Dibs, and just in general, because I love the text line. I love the YouTube chat, because somehow I can be saying that Draymond is overrated and underrated all at the same time, all in the same thing. So that's why I love you guys. Keep it coming.
It's great.
And all I'm saying is Draymond has never been perfect, right? Nobody is perfect. Nobody is a perfect leader. When we take the politics, nobody has been a perfect president. Nobody has been perfect in any way, shape, or form. Draymond has had some big mess ups, right? He's also had some big victories and some big wins. That is why he's so polarizing. That is why when Draymond talks, you listen. Nobody here is saying, to be completely honest with you, I thought that stuff that he said with the whole Wizards thing, right, on the TikTok, I thought it was petty. I thought it was unnecessary. And to be completely honest with you, I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop with Jordan Poole, because the only thing that makes any of this okay is if Jordan Poole, I want to hear that this guy was a complete terror in the locker room. The way that this whole thing has kind of gone down, there must be something that we're missing, because there is no love lost, it feels like, between Jordan Poole and, based on what we heard from Logan Murdoch, Klay Thompson saying, if Klay thinks you're taking too many crazy shots, that's just kind of ironic to me as well. Then obviously the Draymond stuff. So Draymond, there's good Draymond and there's bad Draymond.
Yeah.
And that's what's so funny, because I can have fans telling me that I'm a joke, right, because of how I'm talking about Draymond in one way, and also say I'm a joke about how I'm talking about Draymond in the other way.
Yes.
And ultimately, it doesn't matter, because Draymond Green is here for 4 more years.
Exactly.
So either live with it or don't.
And I've been very critical of Draymond Green over the course of his time with the Golden State Warriors, and at the same time, while being critical of the bad things that he does, the negatives, I'm also aware of the fact that you don't win championships without him. He's the most polarizing athlete I can remember, maybe ever, in the Bay Area, in terms of can't live with him, can't live without him, because the things that he does drives you crazy, whether it's stomping on Domas Sabonis this year and getting suspended, or, take
it back to 2016.
Right, 2016, when he punches LeBron in the groin. And I actually mentioned this earlier, Styles, in terms of like the Chris Paul trade. Can CP3 come here and get along? Oh, they hate each other, and the rivalry and the hatred. You do realize that LeBron and Draymond Green went to Europe together this offseason.
Oh, yeah, and they looked like they were having a grand time.
A grand time. And this is the same LeBron that Draymond punched in the balls when LeBron...
It was a little slappy slap.
LeBron teabags him, and so Draymond reaches up and pops him in the nethers, and he gets suspended for it. And these two are supposedly, they're rivals and they're enemies. And then at the end of the Lakers series, where they're just locked in a deep, long, passionate embrace.
Yes.
And we're all supposed to think that these athletes really don't like each other.
But at the time, I don't think they did, though. In 2016. That was a long time ago, Dibs.
I don't know if they didn't go to Europe because of that, but I also don't think that they were fueled with hatred toward each other.
I think it was real deal.
See,
the only reason I think it was real deal is because you saw, to me, the energy was different this year. And it's easier for me to believe it was real deal simply because there was no Draymond podcast where we heard Draymond loving on LeBron this whole time, right? Maybe it was all the same, but now that he has the platform and he's talking about LeBron and talking about the alleged joking about missing a game when LeBron breaks the record, that's why I can't imagine Draymond saying that in 2016. That's not to say he wouldn't have, but we'll never know because he didn't have a podcast.